absolutely dominated last weekend, leading 197 of the laps. It was quite a race for
That
Dustin. He'd absolutely had the field pulled the entire time, played great defense, got the job done. But it looks like, with qualifying being done, you can see the results on your screen. It looks like Marshall Newton, who's been a great qualifier this year, not necessarily had the best luck in the race, not necessarily having the finishes to back up those single lap times. Looks pretty good, right? 31.032 as the fastest lap time here. He'll start on the front row. On the inside, we're waiting for the 57 of Jared Ziegler to pop in. He will be starting on the outside of row number 1. All right,
yeah,
Jesse,
the top.
take it away.
Yeah, the row 2 looks like Stephen Mayock and Jeffrey Sykes. Third row's Aaron Corey and Antonio Bianchi. Lots of similar guys here in the front of the field. Caleb Nelson's going to be 7th and Harrison Chandler 8th. Rounding out the top 10s, Dustin Matson and Adam Allen.
I want to touch on one driver you mentioned, the front row. Yet to grid up on the field. They have 2 minutes to grade here. Not like NASCAR. The cars don't just sit there waiting for the drivers. There he is now popping in. That is Stephen Mioch. Now we'll see him. We might cut to his stream here during a commercial break at some point, but he has not had the season that he has been looking forward to. He is looking forward a lot to this series. We asked him at the Daytona what he likes about this league, and he says the competition. Well, the competition's been really, really tough. He has struggled to get the finishes he wants. He's currently on the edge of being in the top 20 in points. So starting third for him, that's a great qualifying effort for him. Hopefully that translates to something here. And another person I wanted to touch on, last weekend, Herzog drove from the back of the field to the front. Did not have the best finish at the end of that race, but was up towards the front, one of the biggest movers. And the guy who was the biggest mover last week, starting the outside row, is the 48 of Smorl. So those guys seem to be what I would say slow and steady wins the race type drivers. They kind of just put down consistent laps over and over again to get the job done. Jesse, you remember Richmond, that 47 Herzog, he was in the lead. So sometimes slow and steady can put you in some prime situations.
Yeah, and sometimes you can wreck from the lead too. It just depends on the situation, if we remember Richmond correctly.
Yeah, that was a big time incident for the front row. It was the first, second, and third all involved going into turn number 1. That was something else. Hopefully we don't have that here, at least not in the early laps. Marshall Newton looking for a little bit of a rebound. He has not had the finishes to back up his strong qualifying efforts. Again, he will start on the front row on the inside, and again on the outside. Has been strong this year, currently 5th in points, Jared Ziegler. So they go through 3 and 4. Just working through the camera angles here. On board the 76 of Newton as we go green.
Green flag, green flag.
He waited very late in the box there to the 76. Very even start for the front row. Mioch looking to maybe make a move. Bottom 3. Look at that. 3 wide for the first place spot.
That's a risky move to do on the first turn.
It looks like Stephen Mioch maybe had the momentum kind of pulled back just a little bit. Everyone's struggling to hug that white line. They slide up the track just a bit. Side by side still for the lead is the 76 of Marshall Newton and Jared Ziegler. And at the line, oh, it was a dead heat. Jared Ziegler credited with leading the first lap here tonight for Las Vegas, this Las Vegas race. And it looks like he might be able to clear that 76 bottom lane. Really struggles here in 1 and 2 early on, especially 76 now trying to hold off Stephen Mioch now for the second place. They all start to file in here. So a great start for Ziegler. He will take the lead, and he will now lead the first few laps of this race. Already.
I think everybody's just trying to settle in right now, and looks like finally single file through turn 1 and 2.
already making some big moves. That 29 car, as he disappears on our screen for just a second, already up. It looks like 4 positions since the start of this race, so he's making some moves towards the back. He has had some strong finishes despite some poor starts. And some tight side-by-side racing right there. The 28 and the 47 are right on top of each other as they went through 3 and 4. Man, did that get close there for a second. Looks like we have a battle for the lead. Jared Ziegler fighting hard against Stephen Mioch. Stephen Mioch had a great run out of turn number 4. Going to try the high line again. If he can get him here, this might be Stephen Mioch's lead. Oh, it'll be close at the line. Jared Ziegler still holds on. Stephen
I think that high line's going to prevail.
Stephen Mioch gave him a lot of room on that inside. And Jared Ziegler is really running that inside well. It's really strange. On the restart, you want to be on the inside for turns 1 and 2. Then you kind of want to be on the outside every lap after that until about lap 5 or 6. Then the inside comes back in. And so far we're seeing this, they get really close on the exit. I think this inside is going to get better and better, but Stephen Mioch holding his own and did lead that lap. First laps led by anyone other than Ziegler here on lap 5 so far in this race.
I think the high line is definitely going to come into play in turns 1 and 2, especially as we go throughout the race here. And we're on 2 times speed for the daytime transition. So we're definitely going to see some shadows, big ones in turn 1 and 2. And that'll make some definite interesting options on the high side.
These two battling hard for this lead right now. They've been side by side for, 3-4 laps now. And every single time, I think one of them is going to get the advantage. The other one begins to prevail, and then they kind of stagnate out. We have about 5 cars now racing for the lead, and finally, Stephen Mioch looks to clear the 57. Let's see if he takes the bottom lane. Does not. Gives him quite a bit of bottom there. This is allowed now. It looks like Sykes to move into the 3rd position. Maybe looking for 2nd back on the outside of Jared Ziegler there.
Yeah, he's going to go to the high side. He saw how successful that was for Mioch. It took a little time, but he got around him. He got the spot, and now he's starting to gain time too.
Jared Ziegler, I wonder how much tire maybe he's wasting. These cars seem to build loose. A lot of cars are spinning out in practice, but every fixed setup I've personally ever driven has always been tight, has always grown tight, and I've always had to struggle with that. You got to pedal these cars. That 57 running the bottom, running a different lane from everyone else. Quickly now falls back into 3rd. They might have worn those tires out quickly, trying to hold off that 76 for the lead. If we have any buffering here, we do apologize. Having a couple of storms here, late September storms here up in the northeast Pennsylvania. And as I say that, of course, there's a change for the lead just as quickly as Stephen Mioch got it. It looks like Sykes is going to take it away.
Bunch of battling going on in the back as well. Giacchi and looks like Herzog there side by side. They've been side by side for several laps now. Ooh, they are dicing back in the backstretch too.
Herzog had been at one point up into 8th place, now continues to kind of fall back. Now he's got Newbigging right alongside of him on the outside. These guys really going after it. And just ahead of them, we mentioned that 48 car, maybe a bit of a sleeper here tonight. He seems to be very strong and just running consistent laps over and over again. Like we said, he's going to one you to death. He's not going to get you all in turn 1, but he will get them off one by one. Currently, it looks like he's going to drive himself into that 8th place if he can hold off the 0-7 to the inside. He's passing a lot of cars on the outside. And if he can clear the 0-7, the 13 of Matson in the wall right ahead of them. That's a battle for 7th through 9th right there, as they're about to invite the rest of the pack right behind them into this group.
Yeah, that's not too good when you have that many cars right behind you, especially with these Xfinity cars. They punch a big hole in the air and they group up, just like we saw with the lead with the top 6 there a little bit ago.
I know these cars are much different than the Cup cars, have a little bit more throttle response, I would say. Maybe a little bit more throttle control as well into these cars. But I'm already kind of seeing a bit of a trend that's similar to the Cup cars where you start getting these separate groups. And I think it's like what you said, they punch a bigger hole, a little bit of a hole into the air, and their throttle response really helps the cars cut through the air. And you kind of get these little clusters. And it looks like the top 6 were kind of in a little cluster on their own. They're starting to kind of fall back into the next little cluster of cars, which is 7th through 9th. And then everyone else after that is in their own little cluster group.
I always find that interesting how the cars kind of group together, and you usually only see it on super speedways, the way like a pack coagulates together with the draft. But like now with these newer, more modern / current aero packages, we see it in a lot of speedways. Anything with a lot of speed, not a lot of braking.
Looks like Steven Yoke has really fallen back since he took the lead. Looks like he maybe burnt out that
some
right
contact
front.
on the backstretch.
That 21 car, though, one of our biggest movers so far in this race, up 4 positions. Harrison Chandler, and that number 21 car, kind of a sleeper here today. I haven't mentioned him yet at all, 14 laps into this thing, but I would say he looks like he's got something good going on with that car. He seems to be putting together a solid start here, up to 4th place since starting on the outside of row 4.
Thing is interesting is the cars are kind of staying close enough together, at least in the front half of the pack, that if you can keep moving up, then you're gonna go draft up and grab that next car. So we'll see how far up somebody like Chandler can get. Started 8th. Who's the biggest mover right now?
Looks like it's the 7 car. There he is. The other Ziegler brother, the 57. Jared Ziegler being it looks like there's a car spinning behind him. That's the 33 of Dixon. He had some big contact on the center of that straightaway. He's going to fall way, way back. He was up to 19th. Now it looks like he's going to fall back to 22nd. And that is all the way back. We had 23 cars start this race, so he's fallen back there to 22nd now after that incident. That's right where he started. So all of that momentum, all of that positions gained is all gone all of a sudden. As Steven Mio continues to hemorrhage spots. He falls back more spots. He's now become the driver struggling the most here. At first it was Marshall Newton who was kind of falling back quickly. He's kind of stagnated now back to 5th. And continuing to move up positions is the 48 of Smorl back up into 8th. Right ahead of him, the 13 and the 07 still racing each other. This lead is tightened up, though. 04 of Sykes trying to hold the bottom. The 44 has been kind of all over the place. The 57 has been in hot pursuit. All 3 of these cars right on top of each other here as we complete lap 18.
Caution.
We have a caution. It was the 38 of Cooper, Austin Cooper, who spins, and it looks like he got into that wall quite a bit with that front end. That is some big-time damage for that 38 car. Not had the season he's been looking for. It looks like he's going to stop and have that car towed. That looks like it'll be the end of his day. Let's see if we can get a replay on what happened. So here's some context for you as he goes into the corner. There's the 8 of Parkman up against the wall, gets a big run on the 2 and can't slow it down. The 2 car just comes down and clips the right rear of that 38, and that is a big, big time impact for Austin Cooper. Ooh. That is absolutely a race ender for that 38 car right there. Big impact.
That one definitely hurt.
And that was one of those, what I would call just a jarring hit, right? It just happened so quickly. That 38 car probably had no idea what was happening. He probably just saw that he got a run on the inside of that 2 car, and suddenly just hit the wall hard. 21 car thought about coming down pit lane. Looks like all the leaders will stay out towards the back of the field. Herzog and Steven Mioka, we saw, was hemorrhaging spots. Those guys will come in. They were both kind of struggling on that first run, not really moving up quite as quick as they wanted. And the other Ziegler brother will come on in, as well the two.
Kind of surprised more cars didn't pit there 20 laps into the run.
You gotta save tires here when you have these tire limits. All of these leaders kind of had the exact same idea. A 134 lap race, though. I'm with you. I'm not sure why you don't pit there.
Yeah, at least
even
get
for fuel only, right?
Yeah.
I actually did a race the earlier this week, the A Open. They only had 2 sets of tires for 100 laps, and in the Cup car, that's a lot because you drop maybe about a second after about 10 laps into a run. First 10 laps are right on top of each other, then suddenly you fall off a cliff from that point on, and so tires are kind of a premium. You get a restart with 12 laps to go, and there's one car in 15th place with fresh tires. That one car is likely going to win. Doesn't matter what split you're in. As long as he gets the laps to do it, no more cautions, no more incidents for him, he might be able to get the job done. But so I kind of played that strategy, but I knew with the situation I was in, I was probably going to still be in 3rd place if I had just come in and gotten fuel. So I did. 1st and 2nd stayed out. I came in from 4th, came out 3rd, had fuel only, and it allowed me to finish 15th because we didn't have a caution from that point on. So did it work out for me? No, but the guys in front of me who didn't take any fuel, they didn't finish the race. The one ran out of fuel, towed it, called it a day, and the other car pit after about 10 laps from that restart. He realized he wasn't going to have enough to make it to the end. So those cars who just pit, they have 20 laps. These cars can probably go about 55 to 60 laps on a single tank of fuel. To me, that's got to be pitting time for these leaders. But almost everyone was on the same tone there. Stay out.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Nobody said anything over the radios, so that was just all what they decided. So we'll see how this plays out.
As we get restarted here, I'm still showing 11 total viewers, 6 stagnant viewers, it looks like, from Twitch. So if you guys are joining us, getting involved in the chat, we'd love to talk to you. So far, John Mullins giving us a greeting. Hello, sup. Hey, John, how's it going? Hope you're enjoying tonight's race. I think John would do well in this league. He was in the Sims 2 Series Cup Series. Was strong there. All right, restart. Sykes on the inside.
Green flag.
Takes off quickly. This is on board the 44 of Corey. Not surprisingly, clean restart by those guys who were out front. They don't want to have to deal with these fresh tire guys, and the less cautions, the better for the leaders, at least for now. Right now, that 7 car is stuck between a rock and a hard place, trying to get around the 09 and the 8, who both stayed out there. So far, the highest running car to have taken tires is that 7 car, so mired heavily in traffic right now, trying to get around these cars. So he's going to try to take it 3 wide, so fresh tires not really doing much. They're not really moving just yet. He's really going to squeeze that 09 car. That is a tight pass on the inside of 3 wide.
Battle for the lead up front. Aaron Corey had a nose on the quarter panel of Jeffrey Sykes. Almost made contact with him.
That 44 car pulled out of that move, gave the momentum to the outside. That 57 now side by side with the 44, driving them all the way down to the apron and some contact as they come back up. That 57 really drove the door off that 44, squeezes them back down to that white line. Corey not putting much of a fight up this, though. Ziegler looks like he's going to get a huge run on the outside line, and he looks like he's got a chance to pass the 0-4 now. So get 2 of them from that outside line, won't you, Jared?
Trying to keep clear of him. Didn't quite have it there. I think Ziegler's going to get him going down the backstretch here if he gets another good run.
I would say you're right. How about 2 drivers quietly making their way to the front? Currently sitting in 4th and now 5th place, Caleb Nelson and Dustin Matson. I said he was struggling at the beginning of this run. Suddenly, here he is. And how about a big-time move by that 44? Just does not have the tires that drive it in on the inside, it looks like, compared to that 0-4. They will be side by side as they come to the front straightaway here. And that 44, he got raced so hard for 2nd place. He saw his opportunity for the lead, but that 57 of Ziegler took it from him. All these leaders are right on top of each other, and now, after a couple of laps since the restart, finally... Oh, there's an incident happening on the back straightaway. Oh, there they go. They finally spin the 2, the 31. Big time impacts for the 31. And a great wreck avoidance for the 0-5 of D's.
It was a huge hit. He has no front end left.
No front end, and it looks like the engine is moments away from erupting one final burst of power. That 2 car was on the wrong end of that one, and you have to remember he put that 38 car in the wrong end of the first incident. Now he's been put on the wrong end of this one, and I think more damage than before. Opitz had not pit there. He was in kind of a sea of cars that had fresher tires. I'm seeing some damage on the 95, seeing some damage on the 8 and the 09 and the 29. So quite a few cars have some damage there. I think everyone kind of got a piece of it. That 31 took a long time to finally wreck. Leaders will come in. And it looks like everyone's going to come in. This is great news for the 7 car, who will officially, Brian Ziegler, get some laps led for him here tonight.
Did he pit last time?
He did. He pit on lap 20. We're on lap 29.
That's exactly what he needed.
6 laps on his tires, and looks like every single car is in, not just the cars that pit last time. So I wonder if those cars who had pit last time, maybe they took fuel only, hence why they had a bit of a struggle coming through the field. We're sitting at the end of pit lane now. Here goes some of the cars. Looks like everyone's taking tires and fuel. At least all of the leaders are. Interesting to see how this comes out. All right, let's see what happened in that incident. All right, so here it is. We're watching Levi Opitz, that orange and blue car. So it looks, oh, the 929 slides up the track, and everyone follows him into the wall. The 29 car gets in the wall first, and big time impact. And oh, that 2 was driving hard through there. The 31 car does not hit that inside wall a second time, but absolutely clobbers that number 2 car. And there you can see the damage on that 2 car. That reminds me a lot of Ryan Preece's crash at Kentucky. Very similar incident where Ryan Preece was really close to making it through, suddenly gets his car pointed straight at the wall, and big time impact, no chance to slow it or stop it.
Those are hard ones. No safer barrier where he hit the wall either. No virtual safer barrier, I should say.
So the 29 was the first car we saw get in the wall, and he had a little bit of help there from that 929 of Allen making his first start this race. So not exactly what you wanted to do if you're in that Supra 929 for Alan, but his race will go on. Up front, let's do a little reset for you. Brian Ziegler, your biggest mover in the race so far, up 22 positions. Did not pit. He'll be on the inside of his brother, Jared Ziegler, on the front row. So how about that for a front row? Six-lap fresher tires and a great start for that
Green
7
flag,
car.
green flag.
He kind of jumped right away, but staying right with him is the 57. Here comes the 04 of Sykes. Looks like he's going to get to the inside of Ziegler.
I think that might be the first lap after the green is probably the only time that passing on the inside is really going to be helpful, because now Jared on the top side is going to have some big momentum on his brother coming down the front stretch here.
Especially with the newer tires. Those fresh tires, I think, do make a bit of a pretty big impact. There he goes, thinking about the outside lane. That 7 car gives him a lot of outside. Goes right back down to the inside line there. Jared kind of takes a late apex, and he's going to get to his outside. Looks like Brian not going to race him too hard for the lead here, giving him plenty of space and giving him his preferred line. John, I'll have to... John's in our comments here. I'll have to get you set up with Jared. He was a part of our league, actually. Jared Ziegler was, so if you want to join this league, you're going to have to talk with him. We can certainly help that connection go through. Anyone else watching this, please comment. Let us know if you want to join. This is some great racing. As you can see, a pass for the lead happening right now.
This is when Brian Ziegler's going to start worrying about how fast he's going to start falling through the field now without that clean air. Probably shouldn't take too long for the tires to equalize as far as the wear goes, but it's still a concern overall.
Getting stuck
Anything
on that
to stretch you out.
Getting stuck on that inside line has been terrible. Sykes has fallen all the way back to 6th place, now fighting to stay in 6th place as he fights side by side. Now, sorry for 7th place with the 48 of Smorl. So that 04 car really struggling since starting in the inside of 3rd place. And now, battle for the lead. The 44 car sees his opportunity once again. Can he clear him? Oh, we got real close there. That 44 car probably had a chance to slide up on the 57. No one really taking the shortcut through the tri-oval much in this race. That 57 really leaning on the right rear quarter panel of that 44 car. But Corey does an amazing job. He will clear him on the inside lane through 1 and 2.
It's like he fixed up his paint scheme, he fixed up his car overall.
New scheme, new driver. For Corey, Corey's thinking to himself, new scheme, who dis? Driving away now from the 57, and we can't talk enough about Dustin Matson. Won at Daytona, won last week in dominating fashion. Here he is again, playing with house money, up 6 positions, sitting in 3rd place. All right, how many racing Vegas puns can we come up with tonight? We're up to 1.
I think we can do at least one more.
I'm surprised we haven't done the whole, wow, that's a gamble for those leaders. I don't know how we missed the opportunity for that one. Well, one car who gambled big was that 7 car of Brian Ziegler. I got to tell you, it kind of worked out for him. What was he running in 16th, I think, when that caution came out? And doing a pretty solid job of just kind of holding on to it, giving plenty of space to the guys around him, just kind of waiting for those tires to maybe equalize a little bit more and give him an opportunity to kind of settle in somewhere, falling back now just outside of the top 5. But heck, even if this thing goes green long enough for them to have another pit stop, another pit cycle, for that 7-car Brian, he's going to be, it looks like he'll be on the edge of the top 10, seeing how this pack is currently running. But he'll be about exactly where he was, except he will have led some laps. So maybe get those bonus points and stay out of some trouble, at least for now.
You know, thinking back to in the first 10 laps when the 95 was going for the lead, he was way up in the third lane against the wall, and actually now we see Brian Ziegler up there, so 29 in the wall. But I'm just wondering like when these guys might move up to that second or third lane.
Well, one guy who's been running that third lane basically this entire race has been the 8-car of Parkman. He kind of was the catalyst that started that first caution with the 38 and the 2-car, because he was running that lane, and I think the 2-car kind of went up there to block him, and 8-car just kind of drove right into the back of him. Got a great run. He's really learned how to drive the outside lane. He doesn't seem to be struggling with it. Not sure if he's really making progress up there either, but running the, what would you call it, the Kyle Larson lane?
Sure. Or, I don't know who else runs the high line like that all the time.
He's got a number 8, so it kind of makes me think of Dale Jr. too, right? Dale Earnhardt Jr. He
Yeah.
loved riding that outside lane. He was kind of the first one in my childhood who did it. Oh, big moment for the 48 as we kind of zoomed in on him, gave him a moment of announcer's curse. I was about to say his name, and suddenly he was sideways through 1 and 2. That's the 48 of Smorl up to 6th place now, so quietly moving his way through the field. He kind of didn't show a whole lot of speed up until last week, where he just quietly and casually finished in 6th place. Currently, that's his best finish of the year, and he's trying to repeat that once again this weekend. But Aaron Corey.
The top 10, whoa! 28 just got big sideways right between the 76 and 929. There's about a foot of space on either side of him. He's really struggling right now, it looks like.
Very strangely, quite a few cars are struggling with a loose race car, especially on the bottom. And you were talking about that 8-car. He was running the absolute outside line. Definitely, he gave me a big scare there for a moment, too. I think he thought that 28-car was going to go up into the wall, into him. But how about Aaron Corey? Kind of stretching that lead a little bit now. Got about a second now over the 57 of Jared Ziegler.
Looks like the field's stringing out, getting ready for a longer run here.
He had two
You don't have those
cautions
little
in
packs like before.
He had 2 cautions in the first 29 laps of this race. And a bit of an incident here. On pit lane, we have the 2-car, but I'm also showing the... Oh, am I going to show it? Oh, he's already on the way out of pit lane. There he is. Trying to find the 95 is Stephen Mioch. Down pit lane here on lap 45. Is this repairs for that 95 car? He was leading this race. Things were looking up for that 95, but quickly how things can turn. Currently finds himself now 21st. 2 laps down.
That's interesting. We'll have to dig into that one, see what was going on with that.
Be way too early for a pit stop to make it to the end. But with that pit stop, if he were to kind of go out there and survive, maybe turn some good lap times, he could get to about lap 95. So he should be able to make it on one more stop. He's the only car who can make it on one more stop at this point. So if this thing stays green forever, it could theoretically work out for that 95 car, but he's got to put down some quick lap times. His first lap out there. See this in updates here.
Looks like he's just 1 lap down.
Yep, updated to just 1 lap down, and he's currently running at 31.4, so faster than the leaders, just consistently good lap times. Caution comes out, he will be the lucky dog, as of now at least.
As long as he isn't the caution.
Yeah, right, exactly right. As long as he isn't the caution, he will get the lucky dog. And that gap between first and second starting to close in a little bit. At one point, it was as high as 1.5 seconds. It is now tightened up to 0.3 of a second. Your top 5 all kind of within range of each other now.
It's like Ziegler's starting to gain on Corey a little bit. Only 0.7 back now.
And I'm curious to see how these cars will change as they race longer and longer into this run. Most of these cars still choosing to run the bottom. Only a couple of cars choosing to run the outside or a middle lane. This track has progressive banking, meaning that the higher you go, the more banking there is into these corners.
I always feel like if I stay on the bottom for too long at a track like this, then I just burn my tires off and I start getting just freight trained on the outside. So I'm kind of surprised more cars haven't gone to the outside.
The question is, the later this race goes, the cooler this track will get, because we talked about that sun accelerator. We imagine the track should start to cool off here the longer we stretch into this run, the longer we stretch into this race. We're closing in on halfway, about 10 laps from, a little bit more than 10 laps, right, from halfway. So we got quite a ways to go in this thing. There's plenty of race left. I imagine that in the cooler temperatures, you'll have a tighter race car. Will that migrate drivers up the racetrack, or will that keep them closer to the bottom of the white line?
I think it's gonna change more in turns 1 and 2. I think it'll really open the outside up because it also has the shade from the signs. So we'll see. I think it's gonna be a lot more viable just because these cars seem kind of unstable if they're in the wrong line.
These leaders are starting to close in on the 20th place running Levi Opitz. He was the cause of that last caution, still dealing with the troubles of that incident. He got hit hard in the side when he kind of side-swiped across the track and put the 2 in the inside wall. 2 car obviously got the worst of that. He's still in pit lane, 26 laps down now. But that 31 car is still kind of struggling out there. I think he was kind of hoping maybe for a quick caution. He, I would say, looks by the lap time, likely 3 or 4 laps at the most away from getting put a lap down. But the good thing for him is if he can stay out in front of these leaders for a couple more laps, they might be side by side themselves. This lead is really shrunken for that 44 car. Last time by was 0.4. Now it's just under 0.4 of a second.
That's a concern for Miok as well, because I'm not sure where he is relative to Opitz, but that's another car a lap down, so he won't be getting the lucky dog if that happens, which is going to happen soon here.
Oh, that 31 car not giving the outside lane to the 57. That'll slow the 57 down on his progress to catch these leaders. The rest of the first 4 will smoothly get around that 31 car. Caleb Nelson painting that white line with that white 07 car right now. Trying ever so much to get to the inside of Dustin Matson. Caleb Nelson has been kind of quiet in this race, hasn't really shown much speed in terms of being a contender to win this thing, but the longer this run goes on, I've noticed he was battling hard with the 48 car for, at the time, was 7th place. Now he's driven up to 4th place and battling hard for 3rd, and has been catching the leader all the while. He's been putting faster lap times down than that 44 car, lap after lap. If he's not burning those tires right off of that 07 car, he might be a big-time threat for this thing if this stays green for too long.
And the second half of the top 10 is all grouped together, and they are slicing and dicing back there.
Oh,
They're
yes,
almost
they
3
are.
wide.
Harris and Chandler on the outside of Smorl. He has actually dropped back to those cars. He was up into 4th place, battling for 3rd. He's now fallen back into the clutches of this second pack. And always sideways there through the middle of the corner, gets up into the wall, maybe taps it. Sykes gets out of the gas, as does Bianchi. That allows the 48 to clear him. That 48 is Smorl. If that 21 was able to keep his momentum up, was actually at risk of maybe getting freight train on the outside with that 21 car. Actually looking loose on the outside lane. Very loose on the outside lane. Sykes doing a great job backing out of that. Smorl now up into the top 5 in this race. Saw some white smoke out of that 47 car. There's the 95. He is approximately 5 seconds back of Opitz and catching. He's been the fastest car on this racetrack lap after lap, has Stephen Mioch been. And he should not have much longer until he passes that 31 car. But for the lead, Jared Ziegler, we talked about that outside line being faster. He finds it, and he is looking like he's about to clear this 44 car for the lead. And he does. So like a yo-yo, or a seesaw, 57 has the lead, gives up the lead, takes it back later in the run. And Jared Ziegler, for the 4th different time this race, will be your leader. How about the 07 car? He is really, really trying so hard to pass this 13 at Dustin Madsen. Dustin Madsen does a great job of playing defense. He is not giving him the spot, not giving him an inch. Kind of played Ryan Newman in the lead, if you can imagine what that would look like last weekend at Bristol. Had cars side by side with him so many times, but no one could actually pass him for more than maybe a car length or half a car length at the start-finish line. Never could quite clear him, but looks like if Caleb Nelson were to slide up right here, he should have him clear. No, the 13 fights back once again. A crucial battle. Finally, he gets him. Well, if Caleb Nelson didn't burn his tires right off battling side by side for multiple laps of the 13 of Madsen, Caleb Nelson still has been one of the fastest, if not the fastest cars this race. I can't imagine it would take him nearly as much time to pass the 44 car, right?
I mean, they say as you get closer to the front, it gets harder and harder to pass, so might take even longer.
Not wrong at all there.
This 4th through 10th, it looks like. These guys are all over each other again.
Yeah, the 48 car was faster than the 21, but not faster than the 04 or these other cars in this group. Sykes, now Bianchi get around him. Marshall Newton, since qualifying on the pole, he hasn't led a lap in this race, though. He lost the lead out of turn 4 on lap 1. He's quietly trying to climb his way back through this. That is a battle right there for, as you mentioned, 5th through, looks like the 10th place. The 929 being the last car in that group there. And on the apron, you saw him. That was the orange and blue car of Levi Opitz. That's the end of his day. He looks like he maybe blew an engine in that 31 car, now multiple laps down. And that has given Stephen Mioch a little bit of new hope in this race. And by the way, Caleb Nelson, I didn't even have a chance to see how he passed the 44 car. Already cleared him.
There's a growing gap between these two groups, too. The top 4 and then the 5th through 10th.
Tell you what, some way, somehow, Madsen, who was defending that position so hard, I think he wore his tires out. He has really fallen off this first few cars. You mentioned that second group. The only car that the second group is faster than is the 13 of Madsen. And now for the lead, the fastest car on this track, Caleb Nelson, trying to close in on Jared Ziegler, trying to be the 5th different car to lead a lap here today.
Had quite a few lead changes. Actually, we're right at halfway right now. First half of the race.
Been an exciting first half of this race. No one's really been able to take the lead and pull away. That's the other thing that really reminds me of the Cup Series in that aspect, that you will have one car that's really good at controlling the pack, meaning that they're really good at holding off the challengers, able to maintain the lead for the majority of the short run. But then maybe they're not so good in the longer run. They can't pull away from the field. Cars start picking them off slowly but surely, getting around that car that was controlling the race. And it seems like maybe the guy who was the second best at maintaining, he starts to fall back. And you kind of have this rotating carousel of leaders. And we're kind of seeing that in this race, right?
Yeah, I agree. And with a fixed setup, it's interesting to see because you're basically seeing tire management and driver skill directly.
Yeah, the 57 kind of played all right, I'll save my tires at the very beginning of the run, and I'll give the lead. There you go, 44. Aaron Corey, you lead some laps. And then after a little while, he said, okay, I'm going to go get Aaron Corey now, and made quick work of that 44 car. Beginning to drive away from him, even with this battle now for the lead. But Caleb Nelson, the entire run was playing, I'll just kind of wait on him. And there was a big-time moment back here. The 48 car got loose at a turn 4. You can see him, he's now side-by-side. Tight battle with Marshall Newton. A little loose again for that 48 car. He's continuing to lose spots the longer this run goes on. Back up front, though, this battle for this lead is not cooling off yet. Jared Ziegler, maybe the second hardest car to pass in this entire league. And that's the difference between them and the last car on the lead lap is now Brian Ziegler. So we mentioned pitting with 6 lap. He's only got 6 lap older tires, but really struggling right now out there.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that strategy exactly plays out, because now he's about to lose a lap. And actually, there's several cars that are going to be starting to lose laps here.
Yeah, it looks like there's, I would say the biggest cars at risk right now are New Bigging, who we saw him get in the wall at the beginning of this run. He is side-by-side right now with D's. And the 7 car comes in and pits. So there's the 05 and the 29. There's the 37. And then there is your lead as it's still contested over the 07 of Caleb Nelson and the 57 of Jared Ziegler. Ziegler up the racetrack, giving a lot of bottom, almost into the wall, but maintains his momentum. Not quite. Caleb Nelson clears him. So big time run on the inside. Jared Ziegler starts to tighten up, slides up the track. He falls back to second where he started this race. Nelson from 6th to 1st. He will get his first laps led of this race. And, Caleb Nelson, we talk a lot about him. It feels like every race he's been strong. I don't know if he's led many laps so far this year, though.
I don't think so. He's definitely been up front. Just not showing the kind of performance he has today. I drove from 6th on the restart up to 1st while everybody else is struggling. That's pretty impressive.
Doing a great job right now. This pack is still divided. It's kind of your first 4 versus everyone else. On pit lane, you just saw that was the orange and black car. That was Robinson. Brian Robinson currently sits 18th. He pits here. He was right in front of these leaders. Kind of was the next car to get lapped. So a couple of cars playing the I'll pit before I get lapped strategy. I don't know. I always played the I'll stay out until I'm the second car 1 lap down strategy. But that's just me.
Yeah, that's a tricky position to be in. With the way I've had my luck, I usually just stay out as long as I can, regardless, because there's always going to be a caution. Somebody's going to lock it up coming on a pit road and then be just close enough to the racing surface. They drop the yellow, all that fun stuff.
A bit of a moment for Bianchi. He gets a little loose. It seems like that seam, that middle seam there, or that bottom middle seam, it seems to be very loose. A lot of cars have gotten loose on that seam. helps the car turn, but as long as you're expecting it, it can help you. But if you're not expecting it, could very much be the detriment of you. As you see, that's the 7 car of Brian Ziegler. We mentioned he had pit the first car in this cycle to pit. He had pit early on that first stop. And don't look now, but the fastest car in the racetrack last time by was... Any guesses?
07?
No, the 13.
No, it'd be the 7. Oh, the 13.
Well, not the fastest out of the leaders, I should say. The 13 of Dustin Matson was the fastest out of all of your leaders.
I thought it was going to be the 7 car because I watched him pass like 3 cars in one corner.
Now, as I called it out, he hadn't had his lap time update, but once it did, I was like, yeah, you're right, but... but that's not who I was talking about. Through all of this, though, the 95 still shown 1 lap down. The first car 1 lap down. So he's kind of maintained that this entire run for the most part. That 13 car was, it seems to be pretty fast, though. How about a 32.9 out of Caleb Nelson? He only seems to be getting faster. He seems to be getting more and more confident with what his car is going to do. He seems to know what his car is going to do and what he can expect.
He's driven away from Ziegler.
Slow car on the inside. That is D's in the 05. No issue. He stays on the inside on that apron. Now he is shown as your first car 1 lap down, but he did come down pit lane. Some distance between the leader and the last 3 cars on the lead lap. That is 12th, 13th, and 14th. You can find them. There they are. That's the 29 of New Bigging. You can see the damage on the right side of that car. The 33 of Dixon. He's had a big moment earlier in this race. And the 28 of Norman King. And we saw him have a big moment in the beginning of this race. So all those cars close together.
I think they're just now in their pit window. I think some of those cars that pitted early might be kind of close.
Yeah, I would say that if these guys were to pit now, right, with 54 laps, they last pit on 29. So doing the quick math, right, it's been about 50 laps since they pit and since they took the green flag. And we're closing in on 50 laps to go. So if you wanted to split this thing exactly in half, you're getting close to doing that. I'll be curious to see when the leaders come on in. So far, the first leaders are in. That is the 13 and the 48. So Smorrell, he's going to come on in, as will Sykes. So those cars are on pit lane.
I think everybody's coming right now.
There it is. Caleb Nelson, he's in as well as Jared Ziegler. Oh, almost missing the commitment line is the 44. And you are right about everyone coming in all at once. There they all are. Even the second group of cars, basically everyone in the second group of cars came in. Sykes, Herzog, and more. Only car staying out right now, I'm showing the 8 car of Parkman. He decided to stay out. The 09 car, who we saw him, maybe I think blinked there. Yes, he did. That's where that white smoke came from. Matson was the first car to pit, so let's see, out of the leaders, so let's see where he comes out. He might actually take the lead by just pitting 1 lap earlier than everyone. There's your leaders. I'm waiting for the 07 car. He's going to show up right in front of this 13, and there he is. And this is on board the 13, and just like that, who would have guessed the 13 car will be cycled into the lead? This is basically the lead right here. That's what you're looking at. He hit 1 lap earlier than the rest of the leaders and got the jump on him. Dustin Matson with a great pit call. I told you, that 13 car, something seemed a little fishy with that 13 car, I thought, right towards the end of that run.
think he started using up his stuff right before he pit, or what?
I think he was. I think he was trying to gain some track position, some distance on those leaders. Used up basically everything he had. He was the fastest car, or close to it, for about 3 or 4 laps in a row, and then suddenly started to kind of fall off. Before he fell off too much, he forced the leaders to pit right afterwards, and now he's actually pulling away from the 07 car. Now there is one car that has yet to pit. I'm trying to find him right now. That would be the 21 car. There he is. That is Harrison Chandler. Last car to pit. He's still showing...
He just called out on the radio he's pitting this time.
Keep seeing smoke from that 09 car. I think he is too. He was hoping for a caution there. Showing only 7 cars on the lead lap. But when he pits here, that should cycle basically everyone onto the lead lap except for the 05 and I think the 33. Maybe some of the few cars that do not cycle back on the lead lap. There goes Harrison Chandler. After all that we have had so far in this race, first lap's led, this time by for Dustin Matson. He will be our 8th different leader.
Quite a few leaders for a 25 car field.
Solid performance. By the way, he did not technically lead that lap because Harrison Chandler's pit stall was just past the start-finish line. So this time by, for real, not for fakesies, the 13 car will come around and will lead his first lap. You can see they're passing. That's the 2 car. That is Pennington. We saw him get involved in that big-time wreck earlier in this race. Shown 59, now 60 laps down to the leader. Caleb Nelson really fallen back quickly, actually. Has been much slower than the leader. And he just lets the 57 fly by. I think Caleb Nelson definitely playing the long-run strategy, much like he did at the beginning of this run since our last caution. He just kind of played defense, didn't really race people too hard, and had the best tires at the end of that run, maybe trying to play the exact same strategy. They've actually been able to kind of catch the leader. So far, man, Jared Ziegler, definitely the fastest car on the track. We're in a 39.421. Running literally 3 or 4 tenths of a second faster than the rest of the leaders. So he is really pushing his stuff, trying to get to that 13 car quickly.
Yeah, I think once the ticker clicks over to 100 laps, we're going to see some intensity pick up. Because now it doesn't look like there's going to really be a lot of cautions. Everybody's really kind of spread out. So this is going to get interesting, especially with the people up front using different tire strategies. We know that Nelson can make up that time. It's barely 2 seconds back. A lot of stuff can happen.
Now we have 2 people with the last name Nelson. One of them, the 09 car, that is the other Nelson. He started back in, I'm showing 14th. He pit on lap 74, so he's kind of running slower than the rest of these leaders. He pit on the very absolute edge of being able to make it the rest of the race on that set of fuel. So he tried to kind of play the absolute long game. Not sure if it's working out, but he was kind of on the cusp of being lapped. So kind of played the same strategy the 7 did, except unlike the 7 car, he's not going to be on the tail end of being on the lead lap. By the end of the run, he should be kind of middle of the pack, hopefully, even as this run goes on. Still running his car to its absolute limit is Jared Ziegler. That's who we're on board of right now. Last time by, did not run as the fastest car on the racetrack since the pit cycle. He had really been pushing hard all the way through this run, and suddenly kind of slowing up as, oh, it looks like the 7 car slows up your leader there coming out of turn 4, maybe just a bit. Well, whatever that slowing was for the 13 of Matson was not quite enough to slow him down too much. 57 car now passes his brother, the 7. Gets around him. Still running pretty much equal to the 13 of Matson. Matson continues to kind of hold his own. Has been able to run a 31.9 basically this entire run.
It's interesting. Brian Ziegler looks like since that pit strategy is all cycled through, he's gained a position. He was 16th, stayed out, got the lead, dropped back, and now he's 15th.
First car on the lead lap is Brian Ziegler. Currently, like we mentioned, sitting 1 lap down. Has some pretty significant right side damage. Next car in line is about 2 seconds back. As the leaders, looks like they've cycled past. Yes, they have. Stephen Mioch, who, by the way, is actually yet to pit. He's in the wall again, hard. He had last pit on lap 45. He has to pit at least one more time. And he is in the wall twice in a row, hard right there. And he is trying to get to pit lane, it looks like. And the distance between your two leaders has continued to shrink down. Just under 0.7 of a second. Jared Ziegler is pushing his car to the limit. I just don't know when the tires are going to fall off of this thing. The other driver who was very strong in the middle of the run, there was Aaron Corey, kind of holding his own as well. He's recently been the fastest car on the racetrack out of all of your leaders. And there's quite a bit of distance between you get to the next guy who's on the lead lap in 5th place. That is Bianchi. Sykes is the next car behind him. Sykes comes into view. Nelson racing there with the 48 of Smorl. On 7-lap older tires is that 09 car, so I imagine that these guys around him are going to start closing. And this is where he's going to lose positions quickly because he was up into 5th. But once you kind of fall back into those clutches, it'll happen fast. How about this pack of cars here? Got a lot of lap cars all clustered together right now. Multiple lap cars, including the 2 car there. And Bianchi's trying to get around them all. He can't find an opening. Good jump to the bottom. He will clear the 37 of Robinson. Robinson will clear the 7 of Brian Ziegler. Here comes Norman King. He's going to try to do the exact same thing. They all got around Stephen Mioch, who now falls. Still hasn't pit since lap 45. He falls now, looks like, I'm showing to 18th.
The 29 car just nailed the wall off of turn 4. Who's the outside of? Yeah, Newbingham was outside of the 76, it looks like. Oh, now they're wrecking. Oh, Chandler gets a piece of it.
Oh, not good for Harrison Chandler. Not showing caution yet, though. Everyone's kind of moving. Oh, that is a tough break for the 21 car because he had pit last. He was trying to use his long run tire set and no caution. That is a big time loss of time. Let's see what happened there. So here it is. He's on the outside of Kevin Nelson. And you can see the 29 kind of just snaps loose. Literally snaps loose. And hits the 33. And, oh, the 21 just had nowhere to go. And pounded the rear of that car. Herzog slides through unscathed, but that is big time damage for Harrison Chandler, who was up back to 13, or sorry, he's fallen back to 13th. He was up to close to a 10th place. He was on the edge of a top 10, and suddenly has a big time issue. As you can see, it looks like he's kind of putzing around out there now. Tough break. for Harrison Chandler.
I'm surprised the 33 being sideways didn't cause a caution to come out. He was definitely plenty sideways in the track.
Yeah, I kind of thought the same thing, though that might be good news for one driver, and maybe one driver only. Caleb Nelson is back into third place, and don't look now, but guys, he's been the fastest car on the racetrack. I feel like I mentioned that a lot about these guys. This guy's the fastest guy on the racetrack. This guy's the fastest guy on the racetrack. I feel like all race long, we've mentioned different cars being the fastest on the racetrack. Pat Mills says, go Levi Opitz. Pat, not good news for the 31 car. It has not been his race. He got involved in a wreck early. Currently sits, I think, 41 laps down, or did he retire from the race? I haven't seen him for a long time. He may have just retired from the race.
I believe he did.
But these leaders really need to start looking in the mirror, because I know that Jared Ziegler went from being about 2 seconds back to being a half a second back, but that's really been slow progress with the 57 to get there. Caleb Nelson has gone from being, like, back in 4th place, 3 seconds back, to suddenly and quickly being less than 1 second behind the leader and gaining. He has been 0.2 of a second faster than these leaders lap after lap after lap, and he is gaining on the 2 hardest cars to pass by far.
This is going to be a fun race to the finish. We're going to watch here. What lap are we on?
Looks like we're going to come around to complete
105?
lap 105. Yes,
All right, so
sir.
29 to go.
And I am really impressed with how Matson's been able to control this race. He has not done anything too flashy. Doesn't look like he's been in trouble. We can tell Jared Ziegler's been pushing the heck out of his car, trying to get back to that 13 car one way or another. But I swear his tires have to fall off at some point, but he's still been consistently, hundredths of a second better than Matson. And suddenly, all of the leaders sped up there. 32.598 for Matson. I think he sees in his mirror that 57 car is about to be side by side. Now's my time to get some ground on these cars behind me. I think Caleb Nelson's going to make quick work of this 57 car, though.
Nelson has a really weird, or I should say interesting, line that he takes off of turn 2. He just kind of sticks that nose, he keeps it on the line and sticks that nose underneath of him coming off of 2. And then he's suddenly already on their quarter panel with, like, 0 effort.
That's what happens when you run, I think it was about 32 flats when everyone else is trying to run 31.4. Because by the end of the run, you're running 32.6 and everyone's running 32.8 at best. And I think that's kind of Caleb Nelson's game he's been playing this entire long run. Does not seem to have the speed short run, but we also haven't seen him in a situation where he'd want to be fast on the short run yet. So Caleb Nelson getting a lot of love. He has closed the gap to the leader, Matson, to the closest anyone's gotten to him since the green flag pit stops, really. I mean, Caleb Nelson played the, if you love them, let them go. Nelson let the 13 car go, gave him a huge lead, and suddenly decided, I'm going to go get him back now.
So here's a question for you. If there's a caution now, do they have tires to change?
Oh, I would imagine they'd have to. Mostly everyone's only used 2 sets of tires.
Okay.
So I'm assuming that they have 3 sets. At least I would really hope that they would all have 3 sets. It'd be a lot to ask them to only have 2 sets of tires and 134 laps.
Let's make a torture test league. It's like, let's make it by time and say you can't pit at all. Whoever survives the longest on blown out tires wins.
Well, I know I'd win that race.
No cautions, too. I think is how you got to play that.
For sure. I think at that point your GTA driving skills come into play.
We also have to think about fuel.
That's true.
If you can never pit, you gotta worry about fuel unless you get.
Okay, you can pit for fuel.
Yeah, you
no
can pit
tires.
for fuel, but no tires. You have no tires. You have to go forever. I'd love to see that. Like, could you imagine a 400-mile race, one set of tires? Make it work. I mean, it might be the slowest race you've ever seen. They might be going like 135 into the corners at the beginning of the race to hold on to their tires.
So I think you need to make it a timed race. Because then it's just about survival. You don't have to go to the very end. You just have to be the last one to survive.
Oh, big moment for on the inside. The 07 of Nelson gets to the inside of Matson. The battle of the suns getting crazy here. He is right on his bumper. He's going to move him up the track on the exit of turn 2. And he's, as you mentioned, really kind of runs that great line. But Matson, what a great line for Matson to run there. Never tracks all the way out. Just kind of sits in exactly where the 07 wants to go. But can't hold the bottom. Oh, he slides up the track.
I wonder if you heard what I said on the broadcast.
We got 5 guys watching live on Twitch. I think Matson might have been eavesdropping on us. Takes a very high line there, gives a lot of bottom into the 07, keeps his momentum up. This is likely for the win. That 07 car was the best car on the long run. Saves his tires really late into a run. Matson, if he's going to clear Matson here, as he does, that might be it. The 07 car is going to need a caution or something to go awry. I think this one is going to the 07 if I had to guess right now. I'm putting my money on the 07 here.
Than 20 laps to go. Not a lot of time to make much happen. He's driving off the corner hard.
Oh, big time run with the the lap car. That was the 33 of Dixon running 15th. Kind of a race of attrition again at this race this weekend for these guys, or these weekday here on Tuesday night. They're doing a great job. The cars who haven't had any issues, cars who've been able to kind of stay out of issues, stay out of the wall, they're the ones who are succeeding tonight.
Need to figure out one more Vegas pun.
Well, I guess we could do it the 07, right? His side numbers are black and the top number is white, though. I guess I'll put my money on black's 07. and I'll let it roll. Let it ride, right? Let's go through the field. Brought to you by our friends at the original Mane and Tail. As my decal gets stuck on. There we go. In the lead here, coming in within 15 laps to go, is Caleb Nelson. We mentioned he started back in 7th place. Kind of has been quiet all race long, playing the long game for sure. Has about a 0.5 of a second lead over Dustin Matson. Matson has 2 wins so far this year. Vegas odds put him as most likely to win tonight's race. Using house money, he pit early, tried to make his gamble work, but it looks like he's going to lose that house money. He's going to come up just short here, unless something changes here in the closing laps. Jared Ziegler started 2nd in this race, has now fallen to 3rd, has led a lot, right? Has led 4, maybe 5 completely separate times he's had the lead tonight. Has been your undisputed leader, but it looks like he's going to come up just short again this weekend. again without something crazy happening. Fourth place, the 44 of Corey. Aaron Corey has been kind of the strongest car after about 10 laps into a run to about 30 laps into a run. Does not have the stuff for a long run. He sits about 3 seconds behind the 07-year leader. But it's been a great race for Aaron Corey. I think this has probably been one of his best showings, even with the 4th place finish. How about Bianchi? What a quiet top 5 race he's looking at so far.
Floated right around there pretty much the whole race.
He's going to, I think, take home the best of the second group, because that second group was pretty tightly packed. It was, 6th through 11th. All of them were right on top of each other. It's now kind of become 7th through 9th now is the part of that group still. Bianchi's kind of set himself above the bar. He's been the best of those cars. And if he can manage his stuff here, he might have a shot, maybe just maybe on the 44 of Corey. The 04 of Sykes, he's led at some points in this race. Got into the wall early on a restart. Actually, I think it was the restart that started this long green flag run. He was on the inside of row number 2 and could not get off of it. Currently sits 6th. Smorl, we talked about him, had his best finish of the league last weekend at Bristol of a 6th place. So far this race, he's been quietly one of the stronger cars in that second group, sits 7th. And Marshall Newton, your pole sitter, sits 8th. Not necessarily the greatest of races for good qualifiers here. Stephen Mioku started 3rd. He's right ahead of him there in that 95 car. Currently sits 16th, 2 laps down. The 929, we saw him get involved in an incident early. Currently sits 9th and sitting in 10th place, if I can find him here. Is all the way back there is Kevin Nelson, who tried that pit early strategy, pit very, very early into the run. One of the last cars on the lead lap, but still looking at a top 10 for the 09 of Kevin Nelson. And that is your leaders as we go through the field. All right, 9 to go.
9 to go, 12 cars in the lead lap. Everything's really quiet. I saw Stephen Miak just getting to the wall big again on the backstretch.
Has not been his day after a good qualifying effort. There he is. He's on the outside. That is the 37 of Nelson he's racing alongside of. Nelson's actually sitting as your first car 1 lap down if we were to get a caution. That 13th place running Robinson would get that spot. He's got a pretty decent gap over Norman King, who sits 14th. This might be one of the better races for the 37. I know it sounds crazy to say, 1 lap down in 13th, but hasn't been dismal. Looks like he's got a clean car. Maybe just kind of ran the pit strategy different from everyone else.
Yeah, he's gained quite a few spots up from 20th to 13th, so definitely moved up.
It's one of those quiet, successful days. One of those days that goes under the radar. Great race for Robinson. He's kind of needed one of those. Been on the wrong end of other people's mistakes, but on the wrong end of his own mistakes this year. One man I would say who's made basically 0 mistakes in this race is this 07 car. He's done a great job growing his lead to about 1.5 seconds now. And we have, 6 laps to go. All right, crew chief. We got a caution here. What's your thought?
That's really tough. You'd restart with a green-white checker at this point. Probably get tires just to see what happens. There's only 12, 13 cars in lead lap.
Yeah, I gotta say, I'm definitely on the get tire strategy, especially because they last pit on lap 81, so it's been quite a few laps. I would say tires for sure, but man, it would be heartbreaking to lose a race on a pit call, on a pit strategy call here late.
Maybe try fake him out.
Or maybe a very, very late turn-in. All right, if you're the 13 car stay way up on the racetrack and then suddenly just swipe straight down, leave the 07 as the only car out there, burn them. That would be my strategy, but what do I know? I'm not a crew chief.
Yeah. You definitely want to be second or third in that situation.
We have 4 laps to go. This has got to be long 4 laps for that 07 car. You're looking around, you're hearing the radio, you're checking on everyone else's radio. You know, you're probably checking into the broadcast too. Hey, what do the cars look like out there? How many cars are close together? Tell those cars to get off of each other. Yeah, you heard me. Tell those guys and their spotters to get them away from each other. We're not having any more cautions. We're done. No more racing. Just give me the win.
Nelson's really built a gap, 2.3 seconds.
He's going to be coming across Kevin Nelson, who had a big-time moment. I know he blinked, but also had a big-time moment on the back straightaway. Disappears again right in front of the leader. I think the leader may have actually gone through the blinking 09 of Kevin Nelson. That'll put Nelson now, I'm showing Nelson now 12th, 1 lap down. But he's got about a 28-second gap on 13th. So that's where he'll finish so long as he doesn't break anything on that car or run out of gas. Another car directly in front of him kind of playing the take the pit strategy to its fullest extent is those 37. That is Robinson. He's actually lost a spot to Norman King. He's trying to make it on fuel. So he will go a second lap down. Final lap for Caleb Nelson. What a great race for that 07 car. He has really put something together here today. He's going to sweep around the 8 car, put the 8 car a lap down as well. That'll leave 10 cars on the lead lap. And Caleb Nelson will win here at Vegas. Great job for Caleb Nelson. That is his first win of the year. It's a great time to do it. Roll the dice, I would say, right? Really, really rolling the dice on taking the backseat approach. When he first came out of pit lane, he had just watched the leader of Matson drive past him, but he never panicked. And for that is your race-winning move here tonight. The 07 car playing it perfect, saving his tires and using that long run speed to get himself the victory here today as he slides through the grass. Hey, well, that is a heck of a burnout. It's a good thing the grass doesn't rip off splitters, right?
No, none of that, luckily. Would be interesting, though. Maybe with a new damage model.
Yeah, we better get that with the new damage model, I can tell you that.
Oh, yeah. If they don't have splitters getting ripped off the new damage model... Nelson burning it down.
He is really burning it down. Where's that engine at? It's got to blow out at some point, right? Great job. I'm trying to drag him up here if I can get him. All right, Caleb. What a race.
That was a lot of fun.
You put on a heck of a show. I would use the word an absolute clinic here tonight. I would say you definitely taught these guys a lesson on how to save tires. What was it? What gave you the edge there late in this race?
Last season, I mean, we had our season finale here a couple of months ago, and Dustin and I kind of ran away with it that race, and I picked up a lot of what he did. I finished second, a second or so back, but I learned that you just gotta save. You gotta back off, let it roll, especially in 3 and 4. It's so easy to overdrive. You just gotta stay so disciplined and and just back it down. And I was giving up a lot of time there on the short run, a lot of time, but it it came back to me. They all started burning their stuff up, and I just stayed the same pace.
You seem to play the strategy of let them go and I'll get you later. I said up here, if you love something, you gotta let it go. You definitely love to win, and you definitely. I thought you maybe had let the win go away. You just let the 13 car fly past you. You obviously knew something I didn't.
It's a track where we tend to get long runs. I know we had a few quick cautions there at the beginning, but same thing happened last season, and just tried to learn from my mistakes. I finished second a lot last year. The one win I got was at Richmond, so this is my first win on a track, even in their other series we run with Camping Universe over a mile. So very happy to finally break that streak, but it's just taking everything in that I learned lately and putting it to good use.
Well, congratulations on a fantastic race here once again. Caleb Nelson, that is Caleb Nelson, your race winner. Everyone in the comments, give it up for tonight's winner. Caleb, we'll talk with you again, hopefully soon in Victory Lane. Congratulations again on your win here tonight.
Thank you very much.
All right, Caleb Nelson, we'll get him back down if we can find his Nelson Motorsports teammate. And let's get Matson up here. We got to get Matson up here. See if see what his thought is. Jesse, what's you got to ask Dustin what your question was.
Did I have a question for him? If I did, I forgot what it was.
Well, you wanted to ask him what happened on that final run.
Oh yeah, what happened on that last run there?
Sometimes you just get beat.
Did you have a different sort of tire strategy, or were you just trying to run consistent? What was going on with the tires there?
I kind of, once I was before that last pit stop, I kind of thought that, an undercut might be my best chance to get out front and get into clean air, because these cars were definitely not happy riding behind other cars. Like it was pretty bad. Like, it definitely burns your stuff up more riding behind guys, and I'd pretty much done that, kind of clawing my way front the whole race, and so I kind of thought I kind of needed to come in and try to jump up a little bit, and it worked. And I kind of was gapping Caleb there, and I kind of knew in the back of my mind he was probably saving a little bit because he was good on the really last long run and gotten out front there, and then once I saw he was coming, I knew I was pretty much dead meat. It was just a matter of time.
Yeah, he had actually fallen back to fourth position about 3 seconds back and ran you guys down.
Did you have any fear of the 57 and Jared Ziegler? Because we had noticed that you were kind of running like 31.6, which is a pretty fast time, but it wasn't the fastest time. That 57 car kind of seemed to be running like 31.4 over and over and over again, trying to get to you. But he never really got to you. Were you kind of just letting him catch you? Were you trying to save a little bit there and maybe not saving as much as Caleb was, where he was dropping spots?
Yeah, I was peeking in the mirror a little bit. I tried that high line to see if I could kind of get a run off and kind of close the gap back down with Caleb. But once I kind of figured out that wasn't working and my stuff was a little too used up, I just kind of started riding the bottom, kind of like what most of everyone up front was doing, and just was trying to hold on. I knew that Jared was kind of cutting into the gap a little bit, but it seemed like when you got behind someone after the tires were going in, like, unless your tires were just that much better, you seem to hit a little bit of like a bubble. And it kind of felt like that was definitely happening. So I was kind of just hoping that if he got within like half second or whatever, he maybe just hit a wall a little bit just because of dirty air. So.
Well, it's still a great performance. You have I'm showing three front row finishes, finishing first or second 3 so far this year, 2 of them being wins. You've obviously won championships here before. Looks like you should easily hold on to your point lead. We were worried about you a little bit up here. You were kind of sitting back deep in this field, sitting maybe, 6th or 7th place on that first run. Was that first run, did that come down to kind of wearing your stuff too quickly in traffic, or were you just kind of playing the patience game?
Yeah, the qualifying times are really competitive, like more competitive than normal. That might be some of the tighter quali times I've seen. Like everyone was in within like a tenth or two, and I am historically kind of trash at qualifying, so I just didn't put a good lap in there. I know I definitely needed to be in the 31 aughts probably to have a shot at being up front. And so once I was kind of decidedly mid-pack, I cruised a little bit, but I was still trying to basically stay at the leaders and see if I could kind of gain ground over time. And it was a little bit of a grind to get there, but eventually it happens after a couple cautions. Just kind of took advantage of those restarts and kind of getting everybody tight again.
Well, again, you played a great strategy. Congratulations on a second place. Not exactly where I am sure you want to finish, and not where you're used to finishing. But I'm sure we'll interview you again real soon for a race win. Congratulations again on a great finish there, Dustin. And we look forward to seeing you next weekend at Talladega.
Yeah, appreciate it, guys. Thanks for a great broadcast once again.
All right, that'll just about wrap it up for us. Jesse, any thoughts here, any closing thoughts here at Vegas as we approach Talladega?
I just think about how this style of racing isn't going to really matter for next week. Thinking more about how Daytona went and the big wrecks in that race. That's what next week is going to be about.
Yeah, avoiding the big one this weekend. It looked like it was kind of all about managing your stuff. Next week, it'll be all about managing your front end of your car. And I think it'll be a challenge for everyone. But Dustin Matson, he won at Daytona. And Caleb Nelson was extremely strong and competitive at Daytona. So any thought that maybe the field, it's kind of Nelson and Matson versus the field for next weekend? Or Talladega going to be a historic self where it's going to be every man for himself, do you think?
I think it's going to be similar to Daytona, every man for himself. We'll be able to see some of the guys who weren't as successful at Daytona. A lot of fast cars got taken out early. So that'll be really interesting to see how Talladega happens, especially with much wider track, more easily able to do 3 wide. Those guys were really doing a lot of that back in Daytona.
Yeah, and some of our faster cars weren't actually here tonight. No Spencer Owens once again this weekend. That's his second race missed. And we also didn't see the winner from Richmond. Dugan was not here in the 42 car. So we assume they'll be back next weekend at Talladega. But it'll be curious to see how those guys rebound from missing a race weekend. So far, it looks like this. Not only are these races wars of attrition, but it seems like this season's going to be a war of attrition as we close in to the Camping Universe Xfinity playoffs and the championship chase. So
it's going to be exciting to watch and see who gets locked in here.
Oh, yeah, that's the other thing. Caleb with a win here, right? I guess that would put him in a great position to make playoffs if it doesn't lock him in. I'll have to read up on my rulebook stuff here just to confirm that he's locked in with the win here. But great time for it, as you mentioned, right before a racetrack like Talladega. If I was a driver, I'd like to be comfortable before I went into Talladega, if not outright safe.
That's for sure.
Well, I think that'll do it for us. My name is Vince Picciotti, and I am here from Sims 2 Series. You can, again, watch all of these races on our family of broadcasters on Facebook. We are on Twitch, and we are on DLive. And you can also watch the replays of these broadcasts on YouTube, again, at Sims 2 Series. It is SIMS, the number 2, the word serious, on all of those major platforms. We have the same name across the board, so we hope to see you guys there. We hope to see you maybe watching these replays, watching for your favorite moments and your highlights. And again, tuning in again next weekend when we take on Talladega. Thank you, and again, have a great night, everyone.